What's going on, folks? You are in the right place if you want to talk about what took place on Thursday's episode. It was insane. It was crazy. And I have a lot of notes that I want to share. So if you missed the episode, you are in the perfect place because I intend to go over everything in pretty good detail. But first, I would like to say thank you to the amazing and beautiful people that continue to support the channel. Well, without you, I probably wouldn't be doing this tonight. So, keep doing what you do and I'll keep doing what I do. Also, this episode is brought to you by wordy.com. That is my social media site. It is my site in which I try to reverse kind of, what we see today in social media where everybody's clamoring over your attention. You got a ton of things hitting you in the face. Wordy tends to strip most of that stuff away and makes things a little more singular. So, create an account and post any message that you like, and it'll be the only thing that you can see when you go onto the site. So check it out. It's a really cool concept. All right. So this episode was amazing. It certainly didn't let me down. I was wondering how they would top the last episode, and they certainly tried their best. And some might argue that they did. This episode starts off with us seeing that Michael does not use the power of veto, and Monty is confused by this, and he suggests that he had hoped that Michael would use the veto, which was strange to me because if Michael were to use the veto on Monty, he would be putting up Taylor or Brittany. So it made me think immediately, what's going on with Monty? Like, is he not realizing that one, he's safe, and two, him coming down means another member going up, more blood on Michael's hands? Like, does he not? He doesn't have a good read on the game. He doesn't have a good read on Michael. Michael wouldn't do that. He wouldn't put Brittany up. He probably wouldn't put Taylor up, and he certainly wouldn't put himself in a position to put more blood on his hands. So Monty needs to pay a little more attention about what's going on, right? All right. So Jasmine feels that she has a shot to stay because of the threat Monty is. So Jasmine says several times that she's holding out hope because Monty is a huge threat, and she's not wrong in that belief. Monty is a big threat, but again, she has no idea that the leftovers are still a thing. All right. Michael grows anxious about what's going on outside. So Monty, I'm sorry, not Monty, but Michael. Michael, I believe it was Brittany and no, it was Michael, Jasmine, and Taylor. They were sitting at the table in the kitchen and just discussing what was going on outside. It was kind of cool because, they really kept these two groups separate. I thought that maybe you could scream and be heard on the outside or vice versa, but it appears that they really had a great plan in place, CBS, to separate the two groups. You saw the cast look at the door and see like black, what is it? Some kind of paper or something that blocks the outside view. So good job on CBS's part. All right, but Taylor predicts what's going on outside. So while they're at the table, Taylor starts to discuss what she thinks happened, right? And she says that Kyle goes on the block. I believe she says against Joseph, and that Kyle goes home. Little does she know she's incorrect, but she did correctly predict that Kyle went on the block. All right. Now, then we jump to, and this is pretty surprising because CBS goes to this part really, really fast. All right. They jump to the nominations, or I should say the eviction part of the show for BB Brochella. And as you can expect, Jasmine is evicted 2-0. So that was something that I did predict correctly on my show yesterday. Jasmine was evicted 2-0. All right. Jasmine is shocked about eviction. So once Jasmine goes out, and she's talking to Julie for her exit interview, Julie asks the question, Jasmine, who are you most disappointed in? And Julie has been really messy lately. She's been stirring the pot. She's been doing that a lot more lately. But anyway, Jasmine's answer certainly surprises me because she says, I'm most upset with Alyssa. And, when she says that, I am very confused because Alyssa is not the reason she's on the block. Alyssa didn't choose who picked the groups. Alyssa didn't place a vote on Jasmine. But it appears that Jasmine is upset with Alyssa because the leftovers are planning in her mind that Alyssa has revealed a lot of Jasmine's gameplay, and that appears to be the reason why Jasmine is upset. All right. Jasmine guesses that Joseph will go home as well. So Julie also asks Jasmine, who do you think will go home from the BB Dyer Fest side of the house? And Jasmine correctly predicts that it will be Joseph. All right. Michael reveals the leftovers to Jasmine. So while Jasmine is sitting there, she gets to hear her eviction speeches, and you know how this goes, right? Michael, wow. So Michael, can we just get this? Can I ask this question to people? Is Michael play? I've already asked this question. I'm not sure how you felt about that question. I don't know if you even saw the question, but is he playing the perfect game? I got a lot of pushback on that. A lot of people are upset with the challenge wins, but I got to ask the question again because he does something in this episode which just strengthens my belief that he is playing the perfect game. It wouldn't be the first time that someone who was a threat since day one has won. If you ever saw the season with Rachel, I mean, this woman was a super threat and she was unlike even, okay? And she still won the game. There's been players who have won Big Brother who have either been a threat or disliked. So Big Brother is not Survivor. Survivor is a little more, crafty when it comes to evicting threats. Big Brother, I've seen threats go all the way to the finale and win. Do you remember when Paul got to the finale? We knew he wouldn't win, but the fact that somebody as polarizing as Paul made it to the final, that should tell you that Big Brother is just a different game. I don't know what that says, but my opinion is that the strategy level is not as high as some would believe. But Michael does something in this episode that just completely throws me off. He tells the truth to Jasmine. He reveals the Leftovers alliance to Jasmine, and she's a jury member. And guess what I thought immediately? Michael is still managing the jury. He's still playing 25 steps ahead of everybody. Everybody's worried about this and worried about that. Michael's revealing the Leftovers alliance, and Kyle got killed for doing that. I've seen the blogs. I've seen everybody. I had a lot of amazing people comment on some of my posts. Kyle's getting killed for revealing the alliance. And guess what? Michael does the exact same thing and he won't get touched. Most people won't even care. But that's because Michael does it better. It's not what you do, it's how you do it, right? He waits till the person is on their way out while Kyle does it while they're in. And I think we also have to ask the question, was Kyle's move good or bad? At this point, it's a good move. And I know I'll get pushback for that, but it's okay. I'm okay with being on the opposite side of the numbers, if that makes sense in this game. In this, no pun intended. But I say that because he's still in the game. Isn't that the ultimate goal? You can't, be happy, when your favorite person lies or flips the game or whatever, and then when your least favorite person does it, you're upset. As I've already stated, I'm right in the center when it comes to this game. I don't care who wins as long as it's good to watch. That's my bias there. I want to watch exciting gameplay. And in this episode, Michael does that. He reveals it to Jasmine, and he's managing the jury. After Michael does it, Brittany reveals things next. Okay, so that was the second thing that happened. Brittany reveals the Leftovers as well. But I don't know if CBS did this on purpose. I'm not sure if Michael actually revealed the alliance first, but they showed Michael's clip before they show Brittany's, and I'm like, Brittany just cannot get from underneath Michael's shadow. If Brittany had gone first in terms of showing or revealing the alliance, I would have different things to say right now. But once again, Michael beats everyone to the punch, and Jasmine she says the unthinkable. She says, I'm okay with Michael. Basically, she says, I love Michael. And she even admits to wanting to have worked with him earlier in the game. And when she said that, I said, it's over. It's over. Jasmine admitted that the greatest threat in the game, on her way out, she admits that she loves him. She likes him. Wow. All right. You can't make that up. Michael is the best player in the game right now, by far. It's not even a question, in my opinion. All right. But anyway, Terrence targets Joseph and Kyle to target Showmance and Bromance. So then we switch back to the other side of the house once Jasmine is on her way. And the theme of this episode is, do you or will you miss Jasmine and her, what they call it, colloquialisms? I sound like her. But the point is, we do switch over to the other side of the house. And for the first time, we get a little more backstory on why Terrence decided to put Kyle up in place of Turner. We find out that Terrence is actually going after the bromance and the showmance. This is my first time hearing about the bromance between Monty and Joseph, and I didn't even know they had a name. Did you know that Monty and Joseph went by Mojo? I never knew that, but I find out this episode. And again, I might be a dinosaur with these episodes because I don't watch the live feeds. But anyway, he openly admits that he's also targeting Kyle and Alyssa because of the showmance, but it is a front because he also reveals that his true target is Joseph, and that was a surprise to me. I just did not expect that to happen. All right, but anyway, Kyle is blindsided by Terrence's move. Kyle isn't worried because Turner and Alyssa are voting. Now, after that particular discussion with Terrence and he discusses his showmance versus bromance intentions, they pan over to Kyle and Alyssa. And no, I'm sorry, they pan over to Kyle. I believe it was in his diary room confessions. He admits that he was a little thrown off by Terrence's move, but he feels completely safe. And this was my argument. I asked some individuals, some people, and I had some great people respond, and they told me that they thought that Kyle would go home this week. I'm like, I know he's not liked right now. I know he is someone that's certainly on the wrong side of America. That's just my opinion. But how does he go home when he has Turner and Alyssa voting for him? That's how I knew that people's anger towards Kyle overshadowed like logic, because it's like it's no way Alyssa's gonna vote him out. It's no way that Turner's gonna vote him out. He's been working with both of those individuals throughout the entire game. It's just not gonna happen. Yeah, this wasn't gonna happen. So but anyway, Kyle shows he feels completely safe. And I had to agree. All right. Joseph intends to go hard against Kyle. At this point, Joseph just says, look, I'm about to target Kyle. I couldn't necessarily say anything negative about Turner, but since it's Kyle, I'm going hard, I'm going in. So he does make that out. He does say that. Terrence is more concerned about Joseph. Now, this was very surprising because in this episode, Terrence voices that he's more concerned about Joseph. And he emphasizes the fact that Joseph and Monty working together is a bigger threat than Kyle and Alyssa. Okay. On paper, that's true because Joseph has the muscles and Monty is a well-rounded player. And then on the other side, you have Kyle, who is also a well-rounded player, and Alyssa is she's pretty. I'll say that she's pretty, but that's about it. So I don't know. Maybe he has a point, but the point I was thinking of, I was thinking that you know what's stronger than bromances? A showman. Everybody knows showmances are the dominant force in Big Brother, probably in reality television. All right, there's not much that tops a showman's love. It's hard to break up. Look, a bromance listen, Joseph was just in a bromance or a relationship with Pooch, but look how fast that ended. So bromances end, showmances don't, okay? And that's where I believe that Terrence made a miscalculation. And what he also failed to calculate is that, do you think either Kyle or Alyssa cut each other's throat for you, Terrence? You got to be pretty stupid to think that, my friend. And I think that's where he messed up. I believe he had a better shot with aligning himself with Joseph and Monty. Common sense, but Terrence is just a anomaly for me. I can't. I said this to a lot of good friends on Facebook. I just can't figure him out. I can't figure him or Turner out. I just can't figure him out. I just can't. Anyway, Terrence leverages his power to create a relationship with Turner. So in this episode, we see Terrence have a rare conversation with Turner. Now, don't get me wrong. He's probably talked to him several times, okay? But I'm talking about just the edited version of the show. It doesn't really show that from my vantage point. But he talks to Turner. He leverages the power, which I thought was a smart move on his part. He points out, hey, we can work together. We can do, we can take over. He kind of talks in that type of tone. And again, they wouldn't necessarily think this was a good idea had he not been an HOH, had he not showed he had at least the acumen to win the veto. But because he's done those two things, he's definitely peaking right now. Turner definitely gives him a bigger ear. In fact, you might be able to make the argument that he's won just as much as Turner or more. Terrence, I'm talking about. So, let that soak in for a minute. All right. So anyway, Kyle tells Terrence that Monty, Taylor, and Joseph run the leftovers. Here's where Kyle starts to make some interesting, statements. He points out that, at least to Terrence, he points out that, hey, you really want to go after Joseph. Don't worry about Kyle and Alyssa. Don't worry about us, because you know who really runs the leftovers? It is Monty, Taylor, and Joseph. I said, wow, that's a new one. That was, but it's hard to get mad at the guy. Okay, he's fighting for his life. You can't. I mean, do you get mad when somebody is fighting for their life? Do you do that? Is that something that you can dislike as a unbiased player, as a player? I don't know. I don't think so. And I'll be honest with you. Here's the truth. I don't prefer Kyle's gameplay. I don't prefer Kyle as a person. If I might be honest, he doesn't strike me as an individual that I would, associate myself with for various reasons. All right, he just, and when I see a duality in a person, I usually try to steer away from that. It's like, okay, I can't trust this individual. But we're talking about the game, and duality works well in Big Brother, and as such, I get his gameplay. I hate to say that. All right, keeping it moving. Joseph tries to use logic with Terrence. Why trust someone who just blew up an alliance? So Joseph tries to talk strategy with a person who I would label a blockhead, and I say that in a joking manner because I don't want to insult anybody, but certainly he just wasn't listening. It wasn't sinking in. Okay, hey Terrence, you're going to create an alliance with a Showmance in which one of the members just destroyed an entire alliance. That's your plan going forward. All right. Joseph wants to have open dialogue with everyone. So I thought this move would be more effective than it was. Joseph decides to bring everyone in to have a discussion in which he basically blows up people's game. People would typically do this on their way out, but Joseph thought that this was his Hail Mary play. He decides to bring everyone together and call everybody out on this game, on their gameplay. And it actually backfires. I could not expect this. I couldn't believe this happened. It backfired tremendously. What happens is Joseph is called to the diary room, which was like terrible timing by CBS because they're like, why would you bring, but who knows their schedule. But anyway, Joseph is called to the diary room, and that allows the other four players to strategize. And to my surprise, Terrence goes up to Kyle, Alyssa, and Turner, and they create a new four-player alliance. And don't quote me on this, but I believe their name is called the After Party. All right, don't quote me on that. All right, Terrence is all for a open blow up, by the way. So just to go back a pinch before Joseph is called to the diary room, it's hilarious because Joseph is calling everybody out. But what happens is, to my surprise, everyone is they just don't listen to Joseph. Alyssa says, "Wait a minute, you're calling out Kyle for lying, but did you lie to me?" Which I thought was pretty clever. It's like, hey, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to manipulate me in order to steer my feelings against Kyle, which is why Terrence should watch out because there's no breaking up a Showmance, Terrence. There's no breaking that up. So Alyssa, to my surprise, uses this really interesting technique in which she doesn't allow anything Joseph to tell her to fester. It's like, wait a minute, you're trying to call him out for lying when you've been lying. And Joseph has to admit that he has. And he tries to use this really, really weird angle. Like, yeah, I've been lying, but I've been lying for my team, so I'm loyal. That doesn't work, I found out. Okay, so and then Turner also jumps in and just piles in on Joseph, like, hey man, this and that. And Joseph also admits to that as well. Kyle, for the most part, sits there quietly because he realizes that Joseph is digging his own grave. And to my surprise, you won't believe this if you didn't see the episode, Terrence jumps in and piles on Joseph as well. He says something to the effect, hey bro, I really don't know if I can trust you because insert crazy reason why here. I just couldn't believe it. I just say, wow, Terrence is interesting. But that happens, okay? Terrence creates Final Four with Kyle, Alyssa, and Turner. Turner is angry at conditions and blames the other leftovers. So two things I want to point out. Probably the funniest thing that everybody missed. While the four, or I should say the three individuals are arguing, that being Alyssa, Kyle, and no, it's actually four: Alyssa, Kyle, Joseph, and Turner. While they're having this complete blow up, and Joseph is trying his best to save his game, the funniest thing is happening in the corner, and most people will miss it. It is Terrence just sitting out like a blob. He's just sitting there in the most hilarious fashion as these four players go off on each other. He's just like, I don't even care what they come up with or what they talk about. Because he mentioned this. He says, I don't care. I want to stir up as much drama as possible because I know that a group is in the house running the house. So he's sitting there in the most hilarious fashion. You got to watch it. He's just kind of sitting back with his hat on and just looking the opposite way as if nothing is going on. You got to check that part out. But an interesting thing happens as the new alliance forms. Turner says something very interesting. He says, the other side of the house is living it up. They're comfortable. We're outside. We've been outside for the entire week. And it creates this weird dynamic. I felt what he was saying. He's saying, look, we're struggling. And, you're in the house getting fat. You're eating, you're drinking, you're laughing, you're giggling. we're out in the backyard, outside. They all look rough, by the way. Like Kyle looks the roughest. He has this weird bucket hat on. His face is like dirty. So it's like hilarious that it's like he's struggling. You can see the struggle on his face. But Turner notes that very dynamic, that rich versus poor dynamic is exactly what will galvanize these four players, that being Kyle, Alyssa, Turner, and Terrence. That will make them just angry enough to take out the other side. And I thought that was a very interesting dynamic, especially coming from Turner. Okay, so he's going to use the fact that they're struggling as a rallying cry to take down the rich, that being, Taylor, Michael, Brittany, and the other person. Okay, Joseph exposes Kyle, brings up bad Daniel move. So one thing that Joseph tries to do, which I thought was, again, a good pitch, a good idea, he tries to bring up the fact that Kyle was okay with leaving Indy and Alyssa on the block, and it wasn't until Daniel came in with his amazing plan to take them down. So he does use that as leverage and tries to get Alyssa to see, hey, Kyle has not always had your best interest. It just doesn't work whatsoever. Okay. Turner stops argument to allow plane to fly over. So while the argument is going on, Turner, our main man, he thinks about the viewers and he says, hey, I want to allow, he stops the entire argument and says, listen, everybody, just pause for a second. And then he's, they flash to his diary room confessions. And basically he points out that he wanted everyone to hear this amazing argument taking place because obviously, you wouldn't be able to hear that if the plane was flying over. So he stops everybody from arguing, allows the plane to go over, and he says, okay, resume the argument. That was hilarious. All right, Alyssa calls out Joseph calls him out for lying. Whoa, okay. Oh yeah, I told you, Alyssa wasn't playing games with Joseph. Okay, this is about the most fiery I've seen Alyssa so far. So while Joseph is talking, Alyssa comes in, she points out that he's lying, and then Joseph tries to interject, and Alyssa says, wait, I'm talking. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, and Joseph, because he's on the outs, he's defeated. He's sulking in his wounds. He just kind of takes it. And I was like, I know a lot of Alyssa haters are going to be very upset with that moment. But, those who like Alyssa are going to love that moment. So that's a very polarizing moment. Alyssa calls out Joseph and says, wait, I'm speaking. And just boom. So all that stuff happens. Oh, yeah, this is interesting. I told you. Terrence defends the Showmance. And this is his defense of the Showmance. Because Joseph tries to say, hey, Terrence, you're going to be protecting a Showmance. You won't believe what Terrence says in return to that. What he says in replies to Joseph. When Joseph says, look, Terrence, you're about to protect the Showmance. You know what Terrence's excuse is? He says, yeah, but Kyle and Alyssa don't vote together. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. He says, yeah, I know they're a Showmance, but Kyle and Alyssa don't vote together. I didn't make that up. All right. So apparently Monty and Joseph, they vote together as a group, whereas Kyle and Alyssa don't because, hey, Alyssa didn't really know what was going on with Kyle. Now she does, Terrence. But I'm done. I digress when it comes to that guy sometimes. All right. Where else am I here? Terrence says, oh, yeah. All right. So Terrence says new leftovers is savage. So again, we're going back to that rich versus poor dynamic. Is essentially you have two leftovers now. Okay, you have the leftover savages and you have the leftover rich, or the leftover rich versus the leftover savages. You got these people living in luxury. That's the leftovers there inside the house ran by Michael. And then you got the leftover savages, and that's a term that Terrence uses to describe this new, brute, more hungrier leftovers group. So in a lot of ways, it's two leftovers groups now battling it out. Again, I think the other group is called the After Party, but again, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure exactly as of this moment. But anyway, to fast forward just a little bit, Joseph is eventually evicted, and I have to tell you that Joseph did an amazing job in being classy. Okay, he did not throw, the kind of punches that a Daniel might throw, or Nicole, or even a Taylor, despite not being evicted. Taylor threw some low blows, which maybe they would deserve it. But I would have to say that Joseph was very classy in his eviction speech as well as his exit. He hugged everybody. He left gracefully. Okay. All right. So Joseph gets eliminated, and then of course Kyle does his speech, but he's pretty nervous, so he doesn't really say anything surprising. All right. So let me see here. Julie asks Joseph about potential romance with Taylor, while they're having their exit interview. And as always, Joseph never denies Taylor or his intentions with Taylor. I always expect him to, he just doesn't. And he basically tells Julie that he would be very happy if Taylor contacted him after the show was over, which was a surprise to me. All right, I knew they were flirting with each other, but I didn't think it would, go far outside the house. And it seemed like it could. Okay, anyway, Joseph says he wants Taylor to call him after the show, and that is pretty much where things conclude. But I want to give you a couple pointers here that you might not know about, and that is Sunday. Sunday, the show will be altered just slightly for some viewers. I think there's a football game taking place. So if you live on the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time, the show will come on Sunday at 8:30. Central Time, it will come on at 7:30, but it will come on at the normal time for those who watch on the West Coast. All right. But anyway, I have a question for you, and this is where I'm going to end it. But this is something I was thinking about. What are the chances that the leftovers can keep this thing discreet? That being going back into the house and saying, hey, Joseph was the victim of Terrence's own individual gameplay. Neither Kyle or Turner had anything to do with what happened. And, they can go back into the house, keep Terrence on the outs and pretend that he has nothing to do with this new after party's alliance. Have Kyle and Turner re-infiltrate the leftovers alliance with Alyssa as the outside showmance. And then, as such, Kyle and Turner can remain with the original leftovers, gaining intel about what they're going to do next, and then counter those moves with their new after party's alliance. Maybe I should have said that at the very start of this video, but that is the question that I want to pose. Do you think it would even be possible for the leftovers to re-infiltrate the house and reconnect with the old leftovers and keeping this new alliance discreet? Is there a chance that that's even possible? And of course, I answered my own question just after I asked that question in my mind, and it was not even close. You know why? Because freaking Michael, man. Michael anticipates everything. He sees everything. You can't get anything past Michael because he's a super fan. He knows everything that's going to happen. So I immediately figured that out. Probably wouldn't work. But you got to admit, it sounds pretty good, right? I think they should at least attempt it. It wouldn't hurt. Because if you go in and you have this all-out, hey, after parties versus Mike, you're not going to win. Okay, Michael is literally like 5 players in one, and he has an additional 3 players. If you can't figure this out, I'm really high on Michael. Michael is really difficult to beat in this game. He's won 6 competitions. Okay, you know what? There's players. I don't think that's insane. That's insane. There's players who played this game twice who haven't won 6 competitions. So yeah, the guy is insane. Okay, and then yeah. So what do you think about that? Will you miss Joseph? Will you miss Joseph? That's another question I'm asking for this episode. Will you miss Brittany or Joseph now that they're gone? Or are you happy that the eye candy for the ladies is out of here? He ain't really doing anything but lift weights. Are you happy that the young lady who it just she's been injured? Are you happy that's over now? What do you feel about those two exiting the game? All right, so here we go, man. I see my man Jason Lowe. What's up, Jason Lowe? All right, here we go. I'm starting to think Terrence actually made the right move. You know what, Joseph? Jason? I'm starting to think the same thing too. Look, I'm always going to side with individuals who are in the game. If you're in the game, you're still alive. You made the right move. Look, you can love Joseph's gameplay to the moon and back. He's out the house. Doesn't matter. No. Okay, it's about who stays alive ultimately. So, Jason, I have to agree with you on that one. I think I knew that Terrence was making the right moves. Okay, I kind of felt that way a long time ago. The man just stepped it up this week, in my opinion. I know he's not a favorite, and he said some really nasty things moving forward in the past that he probably will never recover for. But I try to remember that we're all human beings and that we all say and do things that are not proper sometimes, right? And certainly Terrence is not exempt from being a human and making those kind of mistakes. I mean, come on, you serious? We all say things and do things that are not right, right? But the point is, it doesn't matter to some folks, and they might have missed a really good week. And I think he definitely stepped it up. So Jason, I have to agree with you on that one. Joseph was too loyal for his own good. I'm still reading Jason's message here. Joseph was too loyal for his own good. Kyle and Alyssa are now done with the leftovers for sure. Absolutely. That gives Terrence the opportunity to team up. Exactly. So I see where you're going with that, and that's exactly where I'm going, Jason. I think that the fact that Terrence took the shot at Joseph, and for all intents and purposes, he basically takes Joseph's spot in the leftovers. If you want to be real, if you want to be honest, right? And then you can always argue that Alyssa has always been a part of the leftovers on the account that she was so tied so closely to Kyle. Same with Terrence. I mean, you always felt like Terrence was a part of the leftovers, even though he didn't know about their existence. So there you have it. I really have to agree with you on that one, Jason, for sure. But anyway, I'm gonna end this episode here. Sorry that went so long. I had so much to talk about, but I'm gonna do another episode, and this is the one that I will. I don't even want to spoil this. Okay, you just got to go to my page and look at my Big Brother playlist, or just stay tuned. I'll be back in about 10 minutes. Look, the next one's gonna be hot because I'll just give you a little sneak peek. We're gonna talk about the leftovers, the rich leftovers versus the savage leftovers. Who will win? Okay, who actually wins that fight? Who comes out on the other side? So if you want to talk about that, stay tuned, and I'll see you in a moment. Peace.